Good morning, class. Sergeant Martin, distinguished guests. The information I'm about to brief you on is unclassified. To start this briefing off, we're going to go over a quick drill real quick. So, something to keep in mind. The Army's going green. You want to throw away your trash, so like water bottles, cans, etc., into the proper receptacles. Electric cords. Make sure they're out of the way so you don't trip on them. You want to keep your fingers out of outlets. I know it sounds weird, but it has to be said. You think it'd be common sense. Make sure you're not going to trip over anything. So you got dogs, kennel them up. You got dog toys, put them in the basket or wherever it is that you put your dog toys. Just do something so that way you don't hinder your walking ability. I just got done with dinner, so can't be touching the stove. Make sure it's off. Make sure there's nothing on the stove that's going to catch on fire. Weather. So when you think about weather, it's cold outside right now. You want to be wearing the proper gear. If you're not in uniform, toss on a hoodie, keep yourself warm. Put on a stocking cap, some gloves. If you're in uniform, get your fleece. Toss on your beanie, your gloves. Make sure you're in your exo. Make sure to be maintaining your Army standard with your equipment. So, as we begin this presentation, you're going to learn exactly what military and professional bearing is. You're going to understand a couple key points from military and professional bearing, as well as we're going to be going through a scenario on what military and professional bearing is. Or I guess more of a scenario of how military and professional bearing should be used amongst peers, regardless of rank. So, what exactly is military and professional bearing? Military bearing is conducting yourself in a professional manner to bring credit upon the Army at all times. It's the ability to project commanding presence and confidence. So if you walk into a room and you're in uniform, you walk in there, you're not holding yourself up very high. You're just kind of looking around, acting like you don't really care. You act like you're there to give an important brief or something. Yeah, you just act like you don't know what's going on. It's not having very good military bearing. If I'm in uniform, I'm walking in, I know it's my show. I'm going to stand right up there, tell everyone what's going on, give a draw. We're going to go on about our day. So another thing to keep in mind in reference to ADRP 6-22, Chapter 3-3, for military and professional bearing, is defined as showing up at the right place and the right time, as well as how the demeanor of your group can establish credibility to the Army. So, if you think about it, you and your crew, I guess, my apologies, you and your team are taking Humvees out on Operation Rolling Thunder. So you're going out, driving the Humvees, making sure they're all good. You have to go fuel up the Humvees. Well, as reservists, we have to go to the nearest gas station and fill up there. So when we roll up to the gas station, we all have on our ACHs, we have on our gloves if we need them, especially whenever we're filling up the Humvees. You want to have gloves so you don't get fuel on your hands. We're all keeping our covers on. We have our tops on. We look like a military force. We look professional. We don't walk in there looking all slobs, boots unlaced, pants unbloused. That's not how we work as an Army. As a professional, you walk up to pay for your fuel. The lady's like, do you want this or this? Do you want this drink to go with you? Like, no ma'am. Just ready to get out of here. Just keep it simple like that. Be professional. Don't be rude. Don't say, no, I don't need none of that. Go away. Just keep it nice and simple. So a couple things to take away of military bearing. So you always want to uphold the military standards, Army standards. So when you think about upholding Army standards, just think about your Army values. One of the key points I want to bring up is integrity. Doing the right place, doing the right thing at the right time, no matter who's around. If you're not doing the right thing, how can you say you have any integrity? Whether your first sergeant's up in the office while you're in the motor pool, and he's not going to be back for a while, whenever you're supposed to be PMCS in the vehicles properly, what are you going to do? You're going to sit around and joke around with your buddies, or you guys gonna get it done by the books? So you know your equipment. Because keep in mind, it's not just the unit's equipment. There's other people that are going to be using that equipment within the Army. So treat it as it would be your own vehicle. You don't want your own truck whenever you go home to be out of fuel or leaking oil and you just not do anything about it. Okay, you're going to take care of it. The soldier's creed. You know, that's essentially, that is how us soldiers live. You know, we live by our soldier's creed. So if you can't live by the soldier's creed and uphold your Army values and keep your military bearings, whether you're just at the unit or you go out to fuel up your Humvee at the gas station, you know, you need to keep that bearing, military or professional. You know, just if you don't do that, how can you call yourself a soldier and say you're properly using your bearings? You know, we covered uniforms. You know, if you're at PT formation, you want to have the correct shoes. You want to have on your PT shorts, your PT shirt. If the commander's intent is to be out in PT uniforms with a long sleeve shirt and your PT pants on, you go out with that because you're respecting the commander's intent. So now we're going to cover a couple tasks of professional bearing. So when you think of professional bearing, a lot of times people think of ranks. You know, like when you're walking up to an NCO, you give them greeting of the day. Well, actually, take that back. Regardless, NCO or officer, you're going to give them greeting of the day. You walk up to an NCO, say, good afternoon, Sergeant. Good morning, Sergeant. Good evening, Sergeant. Easy as that. You know, if you're going to walk up, you need to ask him a question or you have something to say to Sergeant. You ask Sergeant if you can speak. He gives you permission to speak. Go straight to prayer rest. Too easy. Whenever you're going up to an officer, you're walking by an officer, you salute them. Yes, sir. No, sir. Good evening, sir. Simple as that. You know, professional bearing is really not hard to do. You know, you gotta respect your ranks, regardless if it's a master sergeant or you're a specialist and the people below you are all E2s. Doesn't matter. You know, we're all in this together. One team, one fight. It's the way it's always been. It's always the way it's always going to be. So, you know, you got some E2s. You see them struggling. You know, you don't want to be that E4 that's just like, you know, they're privates. I don't care. You know, they'll figure it out. No, you want to be that one guy that stands up, says, hey, Private Jones, hey, you know, this can help you out, or do you want me to help you out with this? You know, it's just you being a professional, showing them that how do we put this? That you have the qualities to be one of their leaders in the near future. Same way with, you know, mass sergeants. It doesn't matter if that mass sergeant's not very nice to you. You know, if he's like, hey, go take out the trash, he only asks you to take out the trash. You say yes, sergeant. Yes, sergeant. We'll do, sergeant. Roger, sergeant. Don't be smart about it. Don't ask questions. You know, you don't know what's going on with him back home. Just yes, sergeant, and move on. It's too easy. So let me give you a scenario. So Specialist Richards and Specialist Jones have known each other for a while and have always been promoted around the same time since they've joined the unit. So, you know, a lot of people can relate to this. Sergeant Specialist Jones and Specialist Richards, you know, obviously they've been together a while. So we'll move on to the next point. Specialist Jones exceeded and finally got promoted to sergeant while Richards is still a specialist. So this doesn't necessarily say that Specialist Richards is not a good soldier or exceeding in any of his parts. You know, Specialist Richards could simply just have not been in the Army as long as Specialist Jones, or Specialist Jones might have took the extra step and decided to go ahead and get all of his credentials knocked out and met all of his requirements a little bit sooner. Specialist Richardson, you know, it's nothing about this is saying that either one of them are bad. So, meanwhile, both soldiers want to remain friends and be professionals at all time. You know, so that's really not hard. So this is talking about military and professional bearings. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about how they can maintain their military and professional bearings. Moving on to the next slide, there will be some questions to think about, followed by some answers. So you can think about, you might have your own personal answers about this. You might have a couple extra questions that you might want to ask me later. You know, that's okay. So let's look at these questions. Should Specialist Richards address Sergeant Jones by rank? Yes, that one's kind of a given. Yes, Sergeant Jones is now an NCO and should be acknowledged as so. So why would you not address Sergeant Jones as sergeant? You know, he earned that. He's put in his time. He worked hard, so you gotta respect it. As a lower enlisted, you gotta respect it. You know, not only with your military bearings by respecting him as sergeant, but also as a professional. You know, acknowledge that he did work hard to get that. You know, that's his title, and he deserves it. Another question. So, can Specialist Richards and Sergeant Jones still continue being good friends while keeping their military and professional bearings? If so, how? You know, I do. You'll see on the answer it says yes, they still can be friends out of uniform, but when in uniform, remember to act as professional and maintain all bearings. So, pretty much like we just said on the last question and answer. You know, while they're out of uniform, that's okay. You know, they want to be friends outside uniform. You know, that's their business. You know, they still respect each other while they're in uniform. They come to work. Yes, sergeant. No, sergeant. Hey, Specialist Richards, you might help me out. You know, too easy. It's not that hard. Easy concept to comprehend. The third question. This one will be the last one. Is it appropriate for Sergeant Jones to favor Specialist Richards based on prior friendship or ranks in the past? The answer to that is kind of a given. No. As an NCO, if you see in the NCO Creed, it states we will be fair and impartial. You know, with all of our soldiers. So that's kind of a given. You know, it doesn't matter if you were friends before. You know, I have plenty of friends that I was friends with and they got promoted to E5. You know, it's part of it. You know, they did their job. I'm doing my job now. Eventually, we'll both be able to call each other sergeant. You know, as E4s, it was funny. We joke around, whatever. But now we're NCOs. Time to act like it. Uphold the standards. You know, Specialist Richards could be like, hey man, why you always asking me to take out trash? Sergeant Jones just has to let him know, hey, you know, pull him over to the side. It's too easy. Hey, you know, Richards, this is what's going on. You know, I'm not seeming like I'm putting you up to all these tasks because I know you, or I'm favoring you because I know you. It's, you know, I know that you'll get this done. You can set an example for the next soldiers. So just keep that in mind. So now we're going to summarize this brief. So now you know what military and professional bearing is, and a couple key points to take away from both. You got in the definition of military and professional bearing, and know where to find additional information. There in parentheses, you're going to see ADRP 6-22, Chapter 3, Section 3. That's where you can find some more additional military and professional bearing information. And then also on top of that, we kind of gave an everyday scenario. You know, you see that scenario a lot in the Army. And it's easy to keep your military and professional bearing. You just got to do it. Stay disciplined, just like we're taught. You got to kind of see, we talked about both points of view on Sergeant Jones and Specialist Richards. You know, we got to see that, you know, Sergeant Jones earned that. So he deserves to be talked to as a professional. Specialist Richards, yeah, you know, he could have gotten a little upset. You know, it can be frustrating, but in the end, he's still a junior NCO, and he still has to respect that militarily and professionally. So this concludes my brief. Sergeant Martin, class, thank you for attending. Distinguished guests, thank you. And if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.